right, here are the tunes. You have a great show.
Thank you.
Darkness has descended upon the city, and the creatures of the night have begun to stir. This is the time when the veil between the realms of the living and the dead is the thinnest, and all that is not what it appears to be. Like a lone sentinel, one candle flickers in the night, revealing all that lurks in the darkness. This is Ghost Chronicles, Book of Shadows. Welcome to the nightmare.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles Book of Shadows. I am Ron Kolick, your host, that lone candle flickering in the darkness. And with me, the wicked witch from the west, Paula Brooks.
Yeah, I'm here.
So I got up this morning and watered my garden, and I looked out, and it was, I went outside, of course, and it was like the weirdest thing. It was like I was in the twilight zone. We had that Canadian smoke that came down. The whole sky was a dark yellow, and it was weird, really weird. In the side of the house, and when you like put the light on in the house, it was bright white versus just the normal light. So it was really strange effect. It was cool, but strange effect.
Interesting.
I think it's because Mercury's in retro. Blame, blame
Yeah.
him. Blame him for
Blame-
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, anyways, we have a guest today.
We do. Yes.
So here's your big chance, girl.
Yeah, I can blow her. I can't do the. Then I'm
That's another
already
joke.
starting. No, it's Ursula Bielski. And you know what? She wears many hats. She's like a historian, author, a parapsychologist. She's also the founder of the Ghost Ship Fragrance Company, and I want to talk about that
Ooh.
later on,
Mm.
because right now we've got so much to cover in a short hour. So, Ron, you can just start.
So, Ursula, welcome from the land of the Polish people.
I was gonna say, I'm so happy to be with you. When was the last time you had a Polak on with Ron Kolak?
Yeah. So you do know I am Polish. Yeah.
So, why did you not? I mean, it was hard to say the name, and I
Yeah.
think you.
You're asking me who can't even pronounce his wife's name half the time or remember it. So there you go. Uh, In fact, America is the second highest concentration of Poles in the world, other
Yeah,
than Poland.
yep,
Mhm.
exactly. And I think I know Chicago was the second city
Yep.
outside of Poland when at least when JP2 came here in 1979. So I don't know if that's still the case, but I'm thinking it probably is.
Yeah, we have a high populations down here as well, in Chicopee and where's the other place? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. See, that's why I don't do the introducing anymore because I can't remember names. But anyway, so it's been a while, and believe it or not, um, I don't know if you know, but I am the station manager for PowerX Radio. So one of the things I'm doing here is playing my old Ghost Village uh, radio show, which Jeff Belanger was on Jeff Belanger's thing, but it was
Yes.
done with WCCM Studios in Lawrence, and that was I started on WCCM 22 years ago. So yeah, you were on the show back then.
Can
That's
you believe how long ago that was?
yeah, it's amazing.
I
But
think I met Jeff Belanger in Gettysburg. We both spoke at the Gettysburg Ghost Conference. I think it was in
not ghostology,
2000,
was it?
God, 2006, maybe?
Ghostology, I betcha.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly
Ghostology.
what it was.
Yes, that was Jeff Belanger, Vince Wilson, and Laura. I can never say your last name, Halchik or something from New Jersey. They did that. Mark Nesbitt, of course, was here because he is
Yes.
Mr. Gettysburg.
20 years ago.
Yeah. And in fact, I think I played that ad on the show you were there, because they had an ad made up for that, and I used to play in the show. So, oh, that's amazing. It's like old
Mhm.
times, isn't it?
Yes.
So you know about everything about ghosts in Chicago, I assume.
I would assume so. It's funny. I just literally a couple weeks ago published literally my life's work, The Complete Chicago Haunts, my book that just came out. It's the maximum number of pages that Amazon will carry, and
Oh wow!
it's 837 pages.
Oh
Oh,
my God!
And I think I have about 1,000 books in my house. I don't have a book that's this long, but I wrote one that's this long. So it's my 40 years of everything that I've written that I put together into this one book. And
That
so, yeah, I know pretty much about Chicago ghosts. And, I had to write an introduction for it and kind of write a preface about how I came into all of this and reminisce about how everything happened. And going back there, when I started out, I was things were very different. This whole explosion and ghost hunting culture didn't happen until after the new millennium, 20 years ago. And back when I started out in the 1980s, it was very different. It was very scientific when I started out as an undergraduate, as an assistant to someone who was a psychology major with me at school, who was doing field work in ghost and hauntings research.
really?
Yeah, that's how I started out. And we not like, for example, we never would have it never would have occurred to us to try and communicate with spirits, you know. We were monitoring the environment with all sorts of tools and doing historical research and interviewing witnesses. And that all changed after the start of the millennium. But there were very, very few people, I mean, very few people, even in a big city like Chicago, that were doing that kind of thing back when I started in the 80s. The big two were Richard Crowe, who is now the late Richard Crowe, passed away in 2012, who was a folklorist who was trained at DePaul University in Chicago. And he began doing the first ghost tours, I think, in the world in 1972.
Wow!
And so he influenced a lot of people. And he was so in love with the ghost stories of Chicago that he had collected as a folklorist. And it was his body of stories that I built on over so many years. And then the other person was Dale Kasmerick, who,
Yes, we had him on the show last week. Believe it or not.
oh, beautiful. Yeah. So Dale founded, I think, probably the oldest ghost hunting club, in the United
In the
States.
United States, not in the world, because that would be
Right,
the
still going strong. And he he is on the technical side, more of the not the stories, but researching the actual technical side. A lot of what I was doing when I started out. And so what I was doing was kind of a intersection of that, was doing not only the collecting the environmental um, evidence, but also what I really fell in love with was the ghost stories and interviewing people and the things that they had and learning about the things that they had experienced. Because I found out really quickly that oftentimes, even though a place had a lot of activity go on, when I would go in with my group, my scientific group, and we would try to get evidence for it, oftentimes there wasn't any. And so it would be dismissed by the more scientific people in my group as, okay, this place isn't haunted. But
Mm.
I would be like, we can't say that because all of these people have had these experiences here. And
That's
so I
right.
went more that direction,
Yeah.
following the stories and the experiences that people had.
That's the
well,
problem, is people try to dismiss it too easy or try to believe it too easy. So it's they
Yeah,
don't
both
there's no
directions.
real
Yeah.
critical thinking, really.
what got you started about ghosts and things like that?
Yeah, well, the number one question. Yeah, well, I
Hmm.
grew up in
That's,
a haunted
you're going to
house
hear
in
it all your life.
Chicago. I grew up in a house about just about 2 miles west of Wrigley Field on the north side of Chicago. And the house that I grew up in had been built by my great uncle Andrew Urbach. Our family were we were first generation, but my grandparents were second generation, first generation Chicagoans. And my great uncle Andrew was a real estate developer, and he had helped to develop the neighborhood of North Center in Lakeview Township on the north side. So a lot of the area, up on the north side, like near the lakefront, like really around the Wrigley Field and all of that. And he built this house in the St. Benedict Parish neighborhood. It was one of a number of ones that he did, and it was completed in around 1910, I believe. And by the time my mom and dad bought it in the late 1960s, it was falling apart. It hadn't been taken care of. But my mom was just insistent on buying this house, even though it was falling apart. And my dad was a police officer. She was a school teacher. My dad agreed that they could buy the house, and they bought it and started to fix it up. But the first night that they stayed in the house, um, they were sleeping downstairs in the dining room. This was a typical, like, two flat Victorian Chicago house. They heard someone running up and down the halls upstairs. And the house had been abandoned for a while. And my dad was a cop. So he figured that someone had been squatting in the house. So he took his service revolver off the nightstand, went upstairs and to confront whoever was in the house. And there was no one there. But this went on every night. And literally my earliest memories in my house were of being woken up in the middle of the night by footsteps coming up the stairs. This would happen almost every night, where we would hear someone walking up the stairs from, the foyer downstairs to where our bedrooms were on the second floor. So this was something that I just grew up with all the time. And my older brother he's a year older than I am. He would have more intense and a more bigger variety of experiences. So while our parents and myself would hear these footsteps, he would hear other things, like he would hear the piano playing when no one was home. He would hear knocking on the doors, things like that. And there were also things that happened where he would have experiences of being visited by extraterrestrials. And then I started to also have experiences of what you might describe as sleep paralysis or night terrors. And so this was all the kinds of things that were going on when I was a kid. And while that was happening, my dad, like I said, was a police officer, and my mom was, they were both the children of immigrants. And so there were a lot of stories about Chicago and about haunted Chicago. And so my dad would take me around to the police stations where he was working, and to the homes and neighborhoods of his Polish immigrant family members and friends. And I would hear all of these ghost stories. So, I would be sitting on the watch commander's decks at the Maxwell Street police station. And there was one time when we drove down to Joliet prison to pick up a friend of his that was getting out of jail. And I heard stories from there. There were really crazy things that I was being exposed to when I was a kid.
Nice.
But so there was a lot that was going on. And on my mom's side, my grandmother had spent some time around Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. There's an area up there called Holy Hill, where her family members a lot of her family members had lived. And there's a monastery up there. And my grandmother had gone up there as a little girl for a time, like in the summers, to help do the laundry and things like that for the monastery. And one of the first ghost stories I ever heard, not ghost story really, but spooky stories that she told me, were from up there in the Holy Land in Wisconsin. There were two of them. One was a night where she was sleeping in her bedroom in the summertime when they were working up there, her and her mom. And she heard a bell ringing from outside the bedroom window. The window was open, and there was the burial ground outside there. They were staying in the convent up there. So there was a burial ground out there where the sisters would be buried. So this was one of the dead ringers. Like there was a nun that had been buried alive.
Mm.
And she told me the story when I was very young, and it always stayed with me. And I'm sure it really forms, what I went on to do. And then there was another occasion when she was up there when one of her aunts passed away. And it was one of those stories, again, where she was not really dead. And she sat up in her coffin at the wake.
Oh no.
And she grabbed there was a fireplace going, and she grabbed the fireplace poker and came at her husband for almost burying her alive.
Oh.
So it's really no wonder why
That's
I
a traumatic experience, I think. How'd the marriage after that?
Not sure. That was not recorded in the family records.
Oh God. Can you imagine that? Just picture yourself. How would you react?
Exactly. And how many times it happened though, right?
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we embalm people now. They ain't
Yes.
Just to make sure.
I
They ain't getting
I
up.
was telling my family, make sure you embalm me.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So, Ursula, I had I think it was you. Just had a new show enter on Pararex by a English gentleman living in Transylvania by the name of
Oh,
Chris
Chris
Halton.
Halton.
Yes, and I saw the episode was called The Tower. What was The Tower? Because you were there.
Yes, I was there. Chris Halton is so wonderful. I met Chris Halton, oh my gosh, so many years ago now. I had been following his YouTube channel. He's a very distinguished English gentleman, actually a retired police detective in England, who had done a lot of programs on YouTube where he was going out to investigate haunted places by himself and also with a small group of people. And he would sometimes go and investigate with other groups of people around the country. And he just did really great work. And we became friends online. And I invited him to come over and speak at our Chicago Ghost Conference. And I think the first time he came was probably in, I want to say it was 2015.
Oh, wow.
So he had come over to Chicago and spoke at our Ghost Conference. And we just became fast friends. And I think we had a lot, like me having police in my family, I understood a lot of what he had gone through, and we had a lot of similar things. And my husband also had been a police officer a while and was also a firefighter and a paramedic. So we had a lot of common ground. And we both loved the writing of the English ghost story writer M.R. James. And we got this idea to do a documentary looking into whether M.R. James had believed in ghosts, because there was an idea that he was just a writer and his ghost stories were all fiction. But I think we both felt that there was something else behind it, and that he had some personal influence there, where he had experiences that had led him to become one of the most notable ghost story writers of all time. So we ended up making this documentary about M.R. James, and my husband and my daughters and I went over there not once but twice with the wonderful Irish filmmaker Jason Figgis, and made this documentary, The Haunting of M.R. James. And we had a big part of this was to go to the seaside town of Aldborough in England. This is on the sea, on the East Coast. and we had rented out. You can rent out all these properties around the UK that are historic properties, kind of like Airbnb here, but it's by the government. So the government will lease out these historic properties. So we leased out
It's a
this,
trust, I think.
yeah. Oh, right. The trust.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the first word is, but yeah,
Yeah, I
the
can't either. National
Hammer
Trust.
Trust or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can lease out these historic properties. So the Martello Tower was one of the it's right at the Battery in Aldborough. So this was a major protective, like almost like a fort right on the sea during Napoleonic times. And it was really interesting because the guys, Chris and Jason, and we had another person with us, Eddie, um, a great ghost investigator from England who worked with Chris a lot. Uh, they stayed overnight in the place. And my family and I stayed also in the haunted White Lion Hotel, which figures prominently in M.R. James's stories too. So both of these places that we stayed figured very prominently in the stories, but we actually were able to investigate the Martello Tower where a lot of this was set. And there were a lot of things that happened where we were able to capture voices, and there was just definitely a feeling there of something. And it was nuts because literally the waves of the sea are crashing up against the side of the building. And it's very primitive, it's just this brick and stone round building tower on the shore. So it was great, it was crazy, but that, I think you can watch it for free on Amazon. It's
But
called
you
The
can actually
Haunting of
listen to
Hammer
it on
James.
Fire X. You can listen
Yeah.
to it on
Oh,
Fire X.
beautiful, perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun to do. And it's funny because I think a lot of the people that follow Mr. James, like, they don't believe in ghosts. It's really weird.
Mhm.
And so I don't think they really liked our movie, but I think we did a great job. And I think we also uncovered a lot of research material that I think did demonstrate that Mr. James did have a lot of his own personal experiences with supernatural things that I think led to him writing what he did.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was so interesting. I mean, you talk about synchronicity. I mean, all this. I mean, Dale on last week and you on this week, and I didn't
Yeah.
even know you know each other, but then
Oh
Chris is
my
just
gosh,
coming on.
everybody knows Dale.
Yeah,
Dale's
I
like the
know, but
king. Dale's the king of haunted Chicago investigating.
yeah, it was so unique. I mean, yeah. And by the way, I have a nephew who's a police detective, and I have a nephew that's a firefighter. So it must be a Polish thing.
It is. There's always someone in the family that's a cop and a fireman, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, isn't that kind of like in England too? Like the first son would like be taking over thing, then another one would become a priest, and then another one would become
Yes.
yes.
Oh, and a priest. Yes.
Yeah, always the way. But anyway. All right, so we are coming up to the break, so I don't want to go too far into it. So, your book is called what, and where can people get it?
Oh my gosh, I've written so many books in the
I
last
was
No,
going
I'm
to
not
few
say
talking
years.
that
about the
too.
big one. The big one now. We'll
The
get to the
big
other
one,
ones.
yeah, the big one is The Complete Chicago Haunts, and you can get it now on Amazon. It's $28, and it's yeah, you can find it under my name, Ursula Bielski, and it's big.
If you just had put a hardcover on it, and put like Ghost of Chicago, it'd be right up there with the other big blue ghost book. Can't think of the name, of course, but Hans Holzer. Hans
Oh,
Holzer's.
Hans, yeah.
Oh, the ghost.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that
Everybody has
book
that book. Everybody.
scares the Jesus out of me. I have done so much work after reading that book, like doing deep dives into those stories and going off on my own to investigate them more.
Mhm.
Some of those will keep you up all night long.
Yeah, but
I used to read his book when I was like really a kid and all this horror thing, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and his daughter is still going strong, Alexandra.
Yeah, she
She's
is. Yeah,
still
I've had,
doing all keeping up his legacy. She came and spoke at our conferences a number of times, and she's
Mhm.
such a sweet girl and just so astute, just like her dad.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
had her on her show a couple of times, and in fact, she said she knows I'm a witch, so she said that
No.
Really?
that I should give her a broom also. And then so we weren't talked for a long time, and then the first thing when she came back and she says, "Where's my broom?" So it was funny.
If you say so.
It was.
I know. I'm kidding.
But yeah, but instead of Dick and Jane, I was reading Hans Holzer books.
Yeah.
Yeah, weren't we all? We were the freaks.
But his is a must have for every bookshelf and a paranormal bookshelf. You got to have the big blue book out there that says ghosts. I know because like if I'm ever
Absolutely.
interviewed for anything, I always make sure that book is behind me or whatever. It's just because
But make sure you have a lot of light bulbs if you buy that book. Gotta leave the lights on at night. Even people that don't get scared. Some of the stuff in there is really freaky.
yeah. But anyway, so we really only have a couple of minutes to break, so I don't want to get into anything too deep. So some of your other books, you would like to, in your website, if you'd give that out, that would be great.
Yeah, so everybody can go to my website, which is worldofthesupernatural.com, and you can see all the stuff I'm doing. It's wild, like, for 20 years I was doing running the ghost tours in Chicago, and in
Mhm.
2020 I handed the reins of that over to Mike Huberty, who runs a lot of ghost tours all over the world, and he's so great at it. So my husband and I really enjoyed our time running Chicago hauntings, but it just took up every moment of every day. So since I was able to step away from that, I have just been writing so many books, and so I got into specifically the UFO and UAP
Oh boy.
phenomenon about probably 8 years ago now. And I put out a book 2 years ago called The Devil in Dreamland, which is all about, it's called, the subtitle is The Catholic Faith, UFOs, the Occult, and the End of the Supernatural. And it looks at UFOs through the Catholic faith and all the different ways that the occult and UFOs and ghost hunting overlap.
Mhm.
So that came out a couple years ago. I also put out a separate book just about the hauntings of Archer Avenue in Chicago, which are many. And then coming up, I'm working on a book about the hauntings of something completely different, the hauntings of the high desert out in California, the hauntings of 29 Palms, the town,
Oh
and
wow.
also the Marine base out there, which I just
Mhm.
got a bee in my bonnet about this a few years ago when my daughter went to Marine officer training school in Quantico, and she heard all of these stories about the Marine base out in 29 Palms. So I
Mhm.
just started looking into that, and it's insane. So I've been working on that too. So I hope that book will be coming out next year.
Oh,
Nice.
that's
That's in
excellent.
my terms. I mean, place. Yes, I'm out here there.
All right. So we
Oh,
do
you
have.
are?
Yeah, she's a California West Coast witch. But I opened the thing.
What town are you in?
Right now I'm in Los Angeles, but we get
Oh, so
along.
you're not far from
No,
29
about
Palms
two
in the High
hours.
Desert.
Yeah, hour
Yeah.
and a half. Yeah.
From what
It's
is
so fascinating. Just absolutely fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay? We do have to take a break. You're listening to Ghost Chronicles Book of Shadows right here on ParaX Radio. And, oh, well, TojiNet and ParaX Radio next week. I am Ron Kolick, and she is, of course, the lovely Marla Brooks. And our special guest today is Ursula Bielski. How do you
Oh,
say that?
come on.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
He
I
said it
killed.
perfectly.
I
And you're the
have an
mohawk and you didn't
excuse.
even say it.
I have an excuse now. If you can't do
I am,
it,
I
yeah.
am just terrible at names. You know that. I don't even have to say that. I got
I'm
the tunes are here.
teasing
I
you.
gotta go. Goodbye.
I'm
Goodbye. Hey, wait,
teasing
we'll be
you.
right back after the following message.
Gotcha.
Do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolick at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
There's a shadow on the wall that looks like a man. Lord, that lamp just moved on that stand. I got movement in the cellars, I got footsteps in the hall. There's no time to waste, I better make some calls. I gotta get ready, make everything right, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. This is Brother Mike. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. This old house has a long history. It should be real, real good for activity. And we got the house wired for sound and got motion alarm setting all around. Got a box full of batteries ready to go, and everyone's itching to start this show. Got our logo tees, driving black SUVs, and that one bald guy with a slick goatee. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. Well, there's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is your big brother Mike calling. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. That's right. Go get 'em, boys!
Explore the seasons of the witch by way of magical spells and practices for each turn of the wheel of the year. Magic for All Seasons offers a fresh approach to a lifestyle that focuses on mind, body, and spirit in the nature-based way that our ancestors practiced throughout the ages. Starting with Samhain, author Marla Brooks, an experienced and long-time magical practitioner, explores the 8 Wiccan and pagan Sabbats that comprise the traditional wheel of the year, while incorporating original spells, recipes, incantations, meditations, and more that enhance the magic of each season. Oh, and be forewarned, this book is dedicated to Marla's great-grandmother Sophie, and a powerful witch she was. You'll run into her throughout the book, so don't be surprised if you feel someone looking over your shoulder. It's only Sophie, wanting to say hello.
We're here with Rod Kolick, and we're here with Ursula Bielski. And I'm Marla
Oh,
Brooks. I
you.
can't even do my own name either, so don't be a vet. And so, yeah, here we are, back again.
all right, Ursula, say your name for us, please.
It's Bielski. Ursula Bielski.
Is it Bielski?
Yeah.
All right. Just wondering. Okay. So earlier in the show, you mentioned that you didn't try to communicate with spirit and so forth. And when I first started the New England Ghost Project, I don't know, whatever it was, back in the turn of the century, the thing I was going to do, because I have a degree in environmental science, so I was very scientific and didn't believe in mediums or any dowsing, anything really. So, but I've always been open minded. So when I first went out, I said it. Well, I'm either going to prove or disprove the existence of ghosts. But then I realized that ghost and the paranormal is really a personal experience, and I don't think we can really prove it, quite frankly. So I kind of changed my mission into more to try to understand why people see ghosts and why people can communicate with ghosts and everything. So, for instance, we've been studying the red light seance. It's on physical mediumship for the past 15 years. We meet once a month and record it and analyze it. So, to me, that the whole paranormal is more about personal experience than proof. Do you agree or disagree with that? Or and don't feel bad if you disagree, please.
Yeah, well, when I started out, like I said, I started out having it never would occur to me to try and communicate with spirits. And it wasn't, I was raised Catholic, but it wasn't a religious thing. It was just, it just, the way
You were
things
Polish
were.
and you were Catholic, so
Yeah, yeah, it just
you're
wasn't
not a Jewish,
something.
Polish, or you'd be Catholic or Jewish if you were Polish, pretty much.
Yeah. So I was, yeah, I'm Polish, German, Catholic. So it was just not something that, as somebody that was being trained by someone that was scientific, that we were doing. And yeah, there were people like Hans Holzer, and there were the Warrens. Lorraine Warren was
Mhm.
a medium. So those are people that I knew about and that fascinated me. But when I started doing ghost research, that wasn't a part of it at all. We didn't work with psychics or mediums or anything like that. It was all very environmental and historical research.
Mhm.
And again, it wasn't until this explosion in sort of hobby ghost hunting after the turn of the millennium, 20 years ago, when people started to do all of this spirit communication stuff. Now, that's not to say that wasn't happening before. I have a master's degree in American cultural history, and
So
most
you
of the
know
stuff
about the spiritualist movement.
yeah, most of the stuff that I studied in graduate school was the spiritualist movement and kind of the history of how, what came before that, theosophy and
Mhm.
Swedenborgianism, and going into theosophy and how that all came, kind of morphed into parapsychology and everything else. So that's everything that I studied in school. So I was well aware of kind of the history of how we got to the New Age movement now, and how there had been a long history of attempts to communicate with spirits. And I had done a lot of things when I was in graduate school. I'd gone to spiritualist camps to observe what they were doing and participate in and all of that.
Mhm.
And so, and I also found out that there was a long history of some of the earliest investigators in the 20th century in spirit communication were Catholics, like Constantine Radeve and Jurgensen. All of these people were Catholics. And in fact, there were popes that were related to these people that were involved in all of this. So I always felt like when I started doing spirit communication, this was a scientific thing that I was doing, and I never really thought of it as anything else. But sometime around probably about 20, 2010, when I was deep into spirit communication research, which I had started to get really into after I met Mark Macy, which you probably have heard of Mark Macy. Um, he is very closely connected with, or I think the founder of World ITC, or one of the founders of World ITC, and he came to speak at one of our or I think our first ghost conference in Chicago, and talked about EVP research. And I had gone home from that conference fascinated by the idea, and I started, went out and got some cassette tapes from my tape recorder, and I started to do what he recommended, was to try and communicate with spirits every day at the same time for the certain amount of time. And after several weeks, I started to get voices on my tapes, and I got really into it. And I got to be really good at collecting EVP, where a lot of people were following me and wanting to know what I was doing to get these voices. But after a number of years of doing that, I started to really feel really negative effects of it, where I was I was getting bruises and scratches on my skin. I was having horrible dreams. I was not able to sleep. There started to be disturbances in our apartment. My daughters started to have things happen to them, where they were having dreams and they were having disturbances in their room at night. And this kind of went on for several years. And it was during COVID where something happened, where where I was no longer to run the business, and I was sort of in this holding pattern, and started to look into things more, where I began to understand that what I had been doing with spirit communication had been bringing this on. And it was a long journey from there over the last number of years, where, from that first kind of realization that maybe I shouldn't be doing this, to where I am now, where I actually am now speaking out against and warning people against spirit communication. And that's something that I've been doing with my YouTube channel for the last few years, and the books that I've been writing as well. I really have come to believe that a lot of what I've encountered in the last 40 years that I've been doing ghost and hauntings research, where I feel that I encountered human spirits, was actually encountering deception. And that, I mean, I've really come to the place where I feel that I think this is kind of maybe a little bit of what you mentioned, is that I don't really think that there's a way that we as humans can legitimately research these phenomena without being deceived by it. I think it's whatever we're collecting, we can't be certain that it is what it seems that it is on its face. There's definitely something going on. And I think that's something that's wonderful to acknowledge, because when I started out writing, one of the things that I wanted to do was to kind of lead people to God, and to help people to realize that there is an afterlife. And if there's an afterlife, there must be a God. And I saw a lot of people do that over the years that came to me, where they told me that they didn't believe in anything until they had these paranormal experiences, and they had come to a belief in something because of that. So that was great. And I think even though a lot of these things I think are deceptive, I think there's a great value in them, because they do lead us to an understanding that there is so much more out there than just the material world that so many of us have been raised to accept as the only reality.
Yeah, I've had I believe, because I'm still Catholic, very much Catholic, and I still believe that there is a darker side of what is out there. And, I've gone on as a observer exorcisms with the Catholic Church, and have dealt with some other stuff too. Not myself, which I would never do. Yeah, so I think there is something else. And yes, and you're right. And just because you get a voice or a recording or even a medium telling you something, we have no proof that what you're telling is true to start with or who they are. You're right. Absolutely.
It sounds like you got one right now because you're burbling all over the place.
I'm burbling.
Uh-huh. Where
What is
you were talking and then it was going you're far away and
really?
yeah, you
I'm
went
telling you, it's Mercury.
yeah.
Did we
Something, I don't
lose?
know.
Did we lose Ursula, or is she still here?
I'm here. I'm here.
Did you hear that, Ursula?
I did hear it. I found it interesting.
Was
Yeah.
I burbling?
It was different. Let's
Yeah, it
put
was
it
just
that
your
way.
voice was a little
I
gurgly.
was possessed.
It was, honestly, you did get to
Yeah,
that
a little
point.
weird.
Yeah, I don't doubt it that somebody would try to.
Somebody's telling you to shut up or
Yeah,
something.
everybody tells me to shut up. You should know that
Well, yeah, I know, but
because I speak my mind, and that's the way it is, and it's always been.
well, maybe you were gonna whoever did it, if it was somebody, just
Anyways,
didn't
let's go
want
back
you
to
to
our
know.
guest.
Goodbye.
Never mind me.
Go
Urpling.
away.
Yes, Ursula, you're still
Yeah.
with us. So, is there anything you would like to bring up before we go too far in the show?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to that. I think one of the things that that I've been writing about a lot lately, I think one of the things that is most kind of illustrative of that whole thing is how often in investigations into ghosts and hauntings that we encounter the ghosts of children, alleged children, and I mean, it's one of the most common things that you will encounter in ghost lore, right? There's like, oh, the ghost of a little girl, the ghost of a little boy, and
So cute.
yeah, so cute. And and you really think about it. I mean, if you believe in God, it's like, what? Like, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? That's just not a thing. That can't be a thing. And so that was one of the things that I really started to look back on, and I really started to look back over all the things. And I mean, the classic one is Annabelle, right? The Annabelle doll story. And I didn't think that story was true. I thought that the Warrens made it up until like literally earlier this year. I found the real person that had the woman that had owned that doll and called them. And apparently it was really true, and that that they had made contact with this little girl Annabelle, alleged little girl Annabelle. But that's the classic thing, right? That the little girl or little boy spirit, and these dark things, they draw us in, preying on our human emotions, our mercy and our kindness, our compassion. And
our fears too.
yeah, our fears as well. And it's hard because we should believe that there is this other world, there is this other dimension, and there is this other entire thing that's going on beyond the material world, but it's not what that dark part of that world presents to us. And so it's hard, it's hard to let go, because it's fun to, and it's really a draw to listen to the stories and everything else. And when I was, putting this whole book together, this 40 years of work, it was really difficult because I look back on all these stories where I was saying like, oh, this little girl was seen here and this little boy was seen here, and this, this poor woman that was murdered, she appears on this road. And it's hard because you're like, that's probably not what's going on. And yet there is something going on.
Yeah.
And
when I first started working, I used to work with a Franciscan friar, and we used to have talks all the time. And we thought one of the things that may be happening is that we actually may be contacting people that were in purgatory, because purgatory is
right.
it's not forever. It's a temporal thing. So that we don't know the connection exactly, but purgatory may be in our same realm actually, but a different dimension. But I mean, there's so much stuff we don't know, which is the big problem. So you have to believe in something to, you know, to survive, I guess is a good word to do it. So you don't have a lot of problems.
Well, one of the most interesting purgatory kind of collections of stories is the whole collection of stories around these burnt handprints. There's this museum in Rome in this little church that has the only artifacts in the museum are these. They're common household objects like nightgowns and towels and tablecloths. There's a couple Bibles, I think, that have they have these handprints that are scorched into them, and each one is accompanied by a story that was given by the person that donated the burnt object, who said that they were visited by the ghost of somebody that was asking for prayers or masses to be released from purgatory. And I think there's maybe like a couple dozen of these objects in the museum. And when you look into it, there's a great book actually that was written about this phenomenon called Hungry Souls. And it goes beyond the museum. There's been a lot of happenings like this throughout history, where many monks and nuns and priests and lay people have had encounters like this, where they had a visitation from a ghost that left a burnt handprint behind on something. And it was so crazy because it wasn't until after I encountered, I found out about these other stories that I realized that we have two stories like this just in Chicago. One of them is a famous story about a firefighter named Frank Levy, who was assigned to a firehouse at 13th Street and Oakley Avenue on the near west side. And on Good Friday in 1924, he and a buddy of his in the firehouse were washing the firehouse window when Frank turned to his buddy and said, "This is going to be my last day in the fire department." And before his friend could ask him what he meant by that, an alarm came in and they all had to, get their clothes on and get on the truck. There was a bad fire that had started at an office building downtown. And I don't know how many companies went to the fire. It was one of the worst fires of the decade. Frank was one of 8 firefighters who died that day. And he was so badly burned that you couldn't even distinguish his face afterwards.
Oh boy.
And the next day, all the guys were sitting around in the bay of the firehouse, going over like what went wrong, what happened. And somebody pointed to, his friend pointed to the window and said, "My God, that's Frank's hand." And he pointed the window, and on the window of the bay, the bay window, there was this black handprint. And the guy said, "Yesterday when we were washing the windows, Frank rested his hand on that window when he told me that that was going to be his last day in the fire department." So everybody tried to wash off the handprints. It wouldn't come off. They tried to scrape it off with a razor blade. It wouldn't come off. And this black handprint remained on that wall for 20 years until a paperboy threw the newspaper too hard and it broke the window. But in that interim, literally the fire department administration sent out someone to take the fingerprints off the handprint, and they compared it to Frank's file, and it was the same fingerprints. So something had happened. There's something, a lot of people said like maybe he had some kind of feeling and some chemicals in his body from anxiety left the handprint. But later, when I heard these stories about these purgatory souls and the handprints, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened, right? Of course, he's Irish, Catholic. And then the other story is Resurrection Mary. in Chicago. Chicago's most famous ghost, the vanishing hitchhiker of Archer Avenue. This is the young woman who's been seen, hitchhiking along Archer Avenue in the Southland since, the 1930s, maybe the 1920s. And she very famously in the 1970s, a truck driver passing by saw a woman clutching the bars of the cemetery in the wee hours of the morning. And he went to the police to say, it's a huge cemetery, went to the police and said, there's someone locked in the cemetery. You better go let her out. It actually happens quite often because it's such a huge place that people get locked in after dark. So the police came, they found no one at the gate, but the bars where the truck driver had seen this young woman had been pried apart and like mangled and burnt. And you could actually see the burnt handprints in the metal. And up until just a couple years ago, and they kept removing them and trying to solder the, like burn the handprints out and solder them back into place. And for years, you could see where the bars had been repaired, right? But you could still put your hands in there and feel where the handprints had been. And it was just a few years ago that one of the bars disappeared and then the other bar disappeared. So they're gone now.
Oh,
but for
probably,
years,
probably Zach
they
Biggins.
were there. Probably. Probably. So,
Anyways, unfortunately, we do have to run. Go ahead. Finish it off.
Yeah, anyway, so two of those stories just in Chicago of the, apparently it seems like those souls in purgatory.
Well,
kind of like asking us for prayers and masses.
Unfortunately, we're in purgatory because we got to go.
And I make
this is so fast.
It has been fascinating speaking with you. I enjoy you. You're very easy to speak with, and you have some fascinating stories.
Same. We should just do an all night one.
Oh my God!
We could just talk all night long.
You're going to have to come back and talk about the goat ship fragrances.
Oh, my perfume.
Yes.
All right, we do have to go. They're running the tunes already. So
yes. Love you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, and you have a great day.
You too. Bless you both. Thank you so much.
You.
Good night, everyone, and God bless. Stay safe.
From goalies to ghosties, long lickety beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Deliver us, good Lord.